Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Oh, glad everybody's here today. Hope you're doing okay. It's been quite a last couple of days here. I don't know if you've heard about Rob Reiner, but he was found dead, he and his wife, in apparent stabbing. And it seems that his son, Nick, is a person of interest by the police. Witnesses had said that at a party, Christmas party or something that they had over the weekend, I suppose, Nick and his father had a huge fight, big argument. And then the next day, you know, so he is the person of interest, and that's really sad. I mean, Rob Reiner was 78, and you know, he did a lot. He directed a lot of good movies. My favorite, of course, is A Few Good Men, which has a really good you know, lesson to be learned from it that applies even to today. And I think people that work for ICE ought to watch that film. Okay, because I think it would speak to them really. You know, really heavy. So, but yeah, he worked Stand By Me, another great movie, Misery, which I always I like watching that. That was a good one. Primary Colors, that was a pretty good movie. But yeah, I mean, he's got quite a few movies under his belt, and of course, you know, people my age remember him as Meathead from All in the Family. He was very outspoken liberal, you know, and he never liked Donald Trump. And Trump had come out and said something really nasty in the wake of this. And let me see if I can find it, where he had well, he blamed Rob Reiner's outspoken opposition to him and delivering the unsubstantiated claim in a shocking post that seemed intent on decrying his opponent, even in the face of a tragedy. So I don't have the actual quote here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, he said, quote, was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession with President Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as, you know, his administration passed all goals and expectations of greatness. Unquote. Of course, Trump did not mention his personal connection to Reiner's wife, who was a photographer. Peter Osnos, the original publisher of, quote, The Art of the Deal, unquote, confirmed Monday that Michelle Singer, that's Reiner's wife, took the cover image of Trump's 1987 bestseller. Kentucky Republican Representative Thomas Massey, who has bucked much of his party's lockstep agreement with the president, criticized Trump for making the comment. Quote, regardless of how you feel about Rob Reiner, this is an inappropriate and disrespectful discourse about a man who was just brutally murdered, unquote, Massey wrote in a post on X. Quote, I guess my elected GOP colleagues, the VP and White House staff will just ignore it because they're afraid I challenge anyone to defend it, unquote. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, this is a family tragedy, not about politics or political enemies, unquote. Republican Mike Lawler also criticized Trump's message. So, yeah, I mean, look, let me tell you something. If the police want to do a thorough job and finding out people that have a motive to stab Rob Reiner, why don't we start at the top? And that means let's look at Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump has always come out and said something nasty about Rob Reiner, okay? This isn't anything new, him coming out and making this statement today. He's been saying stuff because all last year, Rob Reiner was saying, you know, how bad a choice it would be to have him back in the White House. And he never made any bones about it. He didn't like Trump. So I'm just saying, if the police, you know, want to make sure that they got the right guy, you know, you have to look at all the people who have the possible motive to want to kill Rob Reiner. You know, you can't ignore Donald Trump. I mean, just because he's the guy sitting in the White House doesn't mean he's not capable of doing such things. We know he can murder at the snap of a finger, okay? And he's even boasted about it, that he could do it and get away with it. And so, you know, like I said, let's just, you know, keep running your mouth, Trump. You know, you want to take credit for another person's murder, you know. You know, I'm just saying, loose lips sink ships. This ain't the time to be having a celebration over somebody who died that didn't like you. If that was the case, you'd have to kill everybody, because there's a lot of people that don't like you. And, you know, doing this is, you know, coming out and on X or wherever the hell he was commenting that is really childish. As bad as the DoorDash girl saying, I'm the victim! Okay? Same fucking thing, okay? You know, you got somebody there in the White House that's really a vindictive person that really just can't wait to just stomp on someone's grave, okay, that didn't like him. That's why a lot of people saying him going back into the White House was just a retribution regime that's in there now. He's going after everybody that ever said anything negative about him. Everybody, okay? And Marjorie Taylor Greene is the newest name on the list that he's going to go after. So I hope she's ready for the fight, because I'll tell you right now, he's gonna do something to her to shut her up. It may not have to be murder. It could be just, you know, getting people not to even put her name out there anymore. If she tries to run again for something. But yeah, I mean, it's really annoying, you know, when you have a president who does something like that. Usually, if a president has to comment on a person's death, you know, they're offering condolences and, you know, prayers or whatever, you know. Never have I ever heard any president ever come out and just, oh yeah, he's dead, you friggin' asshole, you know. That right there is a sign of an unstable, unbalanced mind, okay? That really is. I mean, this guy's got no class. Just because he's got money doesn't mean he's got class, that he's got manners, that he's got, you know, no. We didn't see that today. We didn't see any of that, okay? This was a classless asshole, okay, who came out and said something pretty inappropriate, is a nice way to put it, okay? And some people, even in his own party, said, you shouldn't have done that, okay? I mean, they're all bitching about how everybody felt about Charlie Kirk, and what does he do? He does the same fucking thing, okay? All right, so it's like, you know, you can't, if you're the president, you have to set the example. You can't be the person that's screaming out in the crowd, okay? You have to be above that. People expect you to be a beacon of hope, of inspiration, of, you know what I'm saying? But he can't do that because he's never done that his whole fucking life. He's been nothing but, you know, an abuser, and that's all he knows. You know, as a businessman, I can't imagine how anybody could have worked with this guy, considering his history of failed enterprises. Okay, I don't think this guy was really ever capable of being a businessman. So the fact that people thought that, you know, because we got a businessman in the White House, we'll have a better economy. Does the economy look better now than it did? This is a businessman who failed 7 times at a fucking at a company, and this is the guy you thought would fix the economy. What happened? Okay, you know, it's like people have been saying, they didn't vote for Trump because he was a businessman. They voted for him because he was a bigot, and they wanted him to do bigot things, and that's what he's been doing since he got in there, and that's why people that still like him. Okay, is because he's still the racist in chief in this country. He and his whole goddamn family, for all that matter. His sons are no better. Okay, but that's what you get. That's what you get with him. So him coming out and saying the things that he said about Rob Reiner really is of no surprise to people that know Trump. But Trump, he never knew Rob Reiner. All he knew of Rob Reiner was All in the Family. Okay, so his hatred toward him is only based on the fact that Rob Reiner didn't like him as president. And so if you're not liked, okay, just like, what was it, Taylor Swift there, you know? Didn't like her either because, oh, she said something against him. Now he hates her guts. This is a guy that's got a very sensitive streak. That's why he's easily influenced. That's what Kamala Harris was talking about last year. The rest of the world can push this guy around, can bully him. They know how to manipulate him because he's so vain. Okay? He takes everything to heart. Okay? With him, words do hurt. Just like sticks and stones. He doesn't know how to let it roll off his back. He can't do it. I know some people in life that are like that because they've been sheltered their whole fucking life. So whenever you say something bad, it's like, oh my God, you know, they can't take it. And Trump, well, we know he was sheltered his whole fucking life growing up. And as a businessman, he was able to shelter himself from, you know, negativity or things people didn't like about him. But, you know, that's him. He never learned how to just take things, you know, with a grain of salt. No. Never did. And that's why, you know, he's such a pariah. He's such, you know, you can't trust him. You can't trust his motives. You can't trust what he tells you. He lies all the fucking time. And that comes from years of growing up being, having no self-confidence, basically, that you're afraid of people looking at you, you know, in the wrong way. Okay? Schizophrenia, there could be some of that going on with this guy. He's afraid of how people look at him. And at his age now, I mean, you can't really change that. I mean, he's set for life until, you know, how long that is. But this is the kind of man that he is. And I'm sure Rob Reiner probably expected that one day this fucking guy would say something about him. But, you know, the fact that this happened, okay, is a tragedy with Rob Reiner. I don't know really what the hell more detail about the argument that he had with his son the night before, but it must have been bad. I read that his son had some problem with drugs, which is eerily it mirrors what Carroll O'Connor, the guy that played Archie Bunker, remember his kid died from drug use and stuff. And Nick, you know, Rob's son, Nick, I guess he was in that for quite a while, and he had gotten clear of it, but there's always a chance of, you know, them going back to it, you know, later on. It happens a lot with addicts, is they'll be clean for a while, and then whoops, they start back in again. So, you know, maybe there's something of that went on in that. We don't know. The police don't know. They're still investigating this. All I know is that Nick is the person of interest right now because of what witnesses have said. And, you know, fact is that, you know, it was a really heated fight. And so if there's somebody that had a motive that might have done it, it would have been him. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad. It's a hell of a way to finish your life off like that. But I think, you know, because like I said, he was, what, 78? I guess that's what they said. Rob Reiner was 78. He's done a lot over the years, you know, Hollywood-wise and everything. His father, who was also an actor, it's like a family thing, you know. I don't think Nick was into acting or anything like that, but he's got a long history in Hollywood, you know. He knew people that knew people, you know. And the fact that his wife is also murdered too, it's sad all the way around. I mean, I can't imagine what the hell went on in that family to have that happen. So it'll be interesting to see what the police figure out and what happens. But, you know, like I said, it's been on the news, and I was surprised when I saw it. I couldn't believe it. I'm still kind of shocked, you know, because I mean, he was, you know, last year he was really into, you know, getting Democrats out to vote, you know, for Kamala. And, you know, he made a lot of statements about Trump that weren't very nice. But, and like I said, if the police really want to fucking be thorough, you know, maybe we should look at Trump too and see, you know, if he had any connection to it. So, okay. He certainly he's not hiding the fact that he's happy that the guy's dead. So, I mean, that's like, you know, ding, 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 you know, could be a red alert there, you know. All right, so let's go to something else here. There was a massacre in Australia during Hanukkah. And it says that less than a day after an anti-Semitic massacre that targeted a Hanukkah celebration on Sydney's Bondi Beach on Sunday, yesterday, Australian lawmakers at the federal and state level swiftly vowed to overhaul already tough national gun control laws. Turns out, the immediate aftermath of an unthinkable mass murder is exactly the time for political action. Yeah, so this is the difference between their country and ours. They take it serious. Okay? They take it serious. They don't want that shit to happen in their country. They don't want their country to end up like ours, where they have this stuff happening every fucking day. So, yeah, they set the standard that we seem not able to reach. They can do something we can't. All right? And that's reduce gun crimes. And there is no perfect, you know, solution to prevent them, but it sure is nice when you have fewer of them, right? So if you can do that, then hey, that's still a victory. Okay? It's good to go back to the days when we could say, oh, it was rare that anything like that ever happened, and you know, but those days are gone. Okay? But Australia had, you know, they have one. Every once in a great while it happens, but they have them. But certainly way fewer than what we do. So I don't care what any Republican or Second Amendment supporter says about that. Okay? The fact is if we can't stop it, we can put a dent in it. And we're going to try to put a dent in it. We should try. Because lives are worth saving. Would you sacrifice your child on the altar of the Second Amendment just so you can have your fucking toy in your closet? That's the way I look at it. There's no other way to look at it, really. I mean, come on. I mean, if there was a right for people to have anthrax in their homes, okay, and you wanted the right to use it whenever you saw fit, because it said so in the Constitution, you know, would we try to stop that? I don't know. It's the mentality of people on the right sometimes is just, it's beyond fucking the Twilight Zone, okay? It's way past that. It's gone. It's gone. And I guess they found some more photos unreleased yet to the public, but they've got photos of Epstein engaged in sexual acts with victims. And, you know, Congressman says, you know, it's way past the time that we need to start listing the victims as names here. And he's right. I mean, how often have we heard about who the victims are? You know? I mean, we see them, you know, being interviewed on certain shows and online in independent media, okay? But the names are not really mentioned on the news, the TV news, of who these victims are. Maybe it's because the victims don't want their names shared, maybe, I guess. But there's really not much said about victims, is there? It's all about, oh, the pictures, the Epstein, this and that, you know. It's like, okay, yeah, but there are victims. None of this stuff would matter if there weren't any victims. We have to remember that. The only reason why this is such a big issue is because there are victims. That's how this started. All the other stuff about pictures or no pictures or redactions, that's just smoke and mirrors, okay? To keep people looking at that and not the victims, okay? And that's the point. I mean, when you look at Harvey Weinstein's, you know, how that ended up, the one thing that always kept coming out was the victims. They never shied away from the camera. They always kept themselves prominent in that matter, okay? Victims, victim, victim. So you could not think of Harvey Weinstein without thinking about the victims. That's what they need to do here with Donald Trump. These victims, I know they don't want to be seen to the public, but you're going to have to come out. You're going to have to attach your face, your name to the crimes committed, and they have to be one and the same. That way the public can't just, you know, push it aside like it's really just a bunch of Democrats trying to fuck over Trump, okay? There is a crime here. There is a crime, and the evidence is clear. It's all over the damn place, and Trump is doing everything he can to erase it. That's such a telling thing for him to do. That's like, well, if he's so worried, why is he doing this? If the Epstein thing would exonerate him, then he should be out there saying, take it all, take all the information, take it. You're not going to find my... But he's not, is he? He's reeling it all in and keeping it close to home. You know, he doesn't want anybody seeing what's really there. That just tells you that there's something dynamite in those fucking files, and he don't want his name brought up in it. So, like I said, people have to keep in mind that there are victims here. This is not just some political thing. Really, it has very little to do with politics. It's about a crime. Sex trafficking is a crime. It's not a political crime. It's a crime, and a federal one at that, and that's a big one. Okay? So, I mean, look, Epstein died because of that crime, all right? Because he knew it was coming, all right? He knew it was coming. All right, now you got this story here from Rand Paul, well, let me read this first, okay? Senator Rand Paul says gerrymandering efforts by both parties could lead to political violence. Disenfranchising millions of Americans for short-term political gain is obviously bad for the long-term collective health of a democratic system already strained under the nearly unbearable weight of a cartoonishly inept autocratic narcissist in chief. But let's be clear, Republicans are waging this war, and Democrats have had no choice but to fight back. Mid-cycle, gerrymandering became the GOP's primary political objective earlier this year in a brazen effort to protect the party's razor-thin majority in the U.S. House. That Democratic lawmakers elsewhere, particularly in California, are responding in kind is both wholly necessary and absolutely unsurprising. Could mid-cycle redistricting further destabilize our already teetering republic? Sure, but Democrats clearly cannot sit back and do nothing while Trump and his MAGA minions further dismantle our representative democracy. Inaction is inexcusable. So hint, hint. Could cause political violence. Rand Paul basically signaling to, his party, start getting violent out there, okay? Just remember who will be violent first, okay? They will start the fight. They will start the violence against redistricting, but it's only going to happen in the blue states where they're going to do it. It's okay if the red states are redistricting, but if the blue states start doing it, there's going to be political violence there. Okay? So, yeah, he brings it up, which I'm saying, Rand, you really don't have to bring it up, but I think he's not bringing it up to warn us. It's sort of like stand back and stand by from Donald Trump. This was sort of like a hint, hint. This is the order. Start political violence, because the Republicans can't win this any other way. Violence is their only alternative here, because now they see the Democrats are going to fight back, and so very quickly they jump to arm yourself and go after these people. That's what he's doing. That's what he's fucking doing here, okay? And if there's any example here of how the right wing is always the ones to draw the first blood, it's this, okay? This is a good example of how they're the ones that'll start it. The Democrats try to do it peaceful. They try to be civil about it, okay? Yeah, they shout, they scream, they make signs, they dress weird, okay? And they're loud. But the only time they get violent is if you're violent to them first, okay? Rarely do it is it them starting the fights, okay? And Republicans like to infiltrate those groups when they're protesting, just to pretend that they're one of the crowd, and then they start something, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. Well, then they turn around and say, "Oh, see, Democrats, they go to violence." Well, how do we know? You're looking at a helicopter eye view of a fucking problem, and nobody knows how the fucking thing started. But the people showing up there said, "We didn't go there to start violence. It just happened." Well, how do things just happen? Okay, it only takes one person. And do you know that person was even Democrat, or was he just some fucking asshole from MAGA or something like that doing this shit? You see what I'm saying? So these things that happen oftentimes have triggers, and I think Paul here is triggering. He's triggering is what he's doing. He's triggering. He wants people in his party to get violent to stop these gerrymandering things. Well, if you want the gerrymandering to stop, Rand Paul, the answer is really quite simple and more peaceful than I guess most people would expect. Just tell your party to stop doing it, okay? Accept the boundaries or whatever, the lines as they are, okay? Every fucking presidential election year, are we going to have to go through this? Okay, everybody's tailoring the goddamn maps so they can all win. Is this the way you're going to have elections from now on? The years before the election, they're all going to be, busy redrawing lines? I mean, come on. That's not the way it's supposed to work. We've been electing presidents in this country for decades, centuries here, okay? And people never really had to do that. And I tell you what, in my opinion, I say get rid of the whole system altogether. One person, one vote. Okay? We count every vote. No electoral college, no districting, okay? We just vote and that's it. Get rid of it. That would uncomplicate so much in the way we choose our leaders. Because the way it looks now, it looks like it's a rigged game. Okay? It looks like, one step away from having Russia deciding our elections. Okay, which, some people say they are just, okay, but what I'm saying is that it's time that we need to stop letting this election process get tampered with, messed up, and trashed. Every election cycle, it seems like it takes another hit. Okay, Trump was so pissed that he lost to Biden. The Republicans were so adamant about, okay, no more mail-in ballots, no more of this, no more, you know what I'm saying? They started right off to try to change what is, or what was, okay, back then, okay? And then after Biden lost, they doubled down on that, okay? They still at it. Because despite what people might say, the Republicans are a very shrinking minority of voters in this country. And MAGA right now is shrinking along with it. Why? Because a lot of the Republicans are themselves the victims of their own choices. Okay? They expected something different, and they didn't get it. They went ahead and voted for Trump, and now a lot of them are unemployed now, lost their homes, living in their cars. And these red states are hurting like crazy because they suck more of the federal dollars than the blue states do, because the blue states, they try to create their own state programs to help themselves out rather than relying too much on the federal government. But the red states, they don't do any of that. You know, their only lifeline is to the federal government. But the states, the red states, they don't give a shit about the people living in there, and that's why I don't understand why anyone would want to live in one. Okay, but that's a different topic. But the truth is is that the election system cannot be tampered with if you want it to be fair. And the more we tamper with it, the worse it gets. And so I'm saying, get rid of it. One person, one vote. That's it. You want to count the votes, you're going to count the votes, but there ain't going to be no fucking electoral college to represent the voters, okay? It's going to be one person, one vote, that's it. And we have the technology today to do it. Okay, it doesn't always have to be paper ballots, although I think I would trust that more, but that's the way it is. But we could easily do one person, one vote here and have the results in 2 days across the country. Okay, and maybe that's what scares the shit out of the politicians, is that they don't want it to go that easy, because they want to have their hands in the fucking pot, as it were. They don't want it to just fall on the laps of the average citizen, because you've got big wigs in the top elite who have a way big interest in seeing who gets elected in there. They want to keep it as it is. Redistricting is not a problem for them. They will allow it, they don't care, because as long as the end result is that their little companies are protected and their tax breaks are maintained, they're happy with it as it is. But they know if that choice lands on the majority of us, that's going to be gone. Okay, that's why the game stays rigged and it gets worse all the time. Before you know it, the idea of a fair election is going to be gone. It almost is now anyway, I'm just saying, but it's gone. I mean, we can question every fucking election that this country ever had since Nixon, I guess, or whatever, or maybe even before. But I'm saying now it's easy to tamper with the election now than it ever's been. Okay, because we use a lot of technology in counting the votes and stuff like that. Anywhere along the line, things can be done. But redistricting is just one of those methods, and at some point, people are going to get sick of that. And they're going to say, it's too much of a headache, and we have to fight to get these things approved. We have to pay off everybody in the the upper echelons in order to allow it. There's got to be a better way. And until we ever come to the sense of saying, look, if we really want these elections to be fair, we got to have one person, one vote. That's it. That's the way I think the founding fathers wanted it. Just like when you're in school, high school, and they were voting for student president or whatever the hell, the student council, one person, one vote. Okay, that's how they decided it. The same principle should apply on the national level. Okay, I mean, I can't think of having it any other way. you know, this other business of an electoral college and redistricting, or, you know, drawing lines, and, you know, I mean, come on. There's only one reason to do that, and it's just to pad your fucking, butter your bread a little, is what it is. You know, making it easier to win. Okay, when the majority of the country doesn't want you to win, you got a way of getting around that. So, who was it that said that the corruption is baked into the cake, as it were? You know, and there's a lot of truth to that. And I think it's there to stay and not to be removed, if you ever could. It would take a huge change in the amendment, or an amendment to the voting rights and all that stuff. They'd have to undo a lot of shit in order to make that one person, one vote, because we've used the system as it is, as dilapidated as it is, and we've allowed so many people to kick it around and beat on it and stuff. I mean, come on. We're not that far away from just having a few people deciding for everybody who gets to run this country, you know, and that's not fair. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
It's beginning to look like Trump's last Christmas won't make it through the year. As his ankles begin to swell, it's affecting his heart as well. He can't regenerate that like his ear. It's beginning to look like Trump's last Christmas. He will falsify. As he's standing there on his plane, he keeps bragging about his brain. Perfect MRI. As he continues to choke down fried chicken and coke, his doctors report on his youth. Cholesterol numbers and afternoon slumbers reveal that it isn't the truth. And we can't wait until it's time to use the voting booth. It's beginning to look like Trump's last Christmas. His cognitive decline. He keeps bragging about the test and claiming it was the best. We know that for dementia that's a sign. It's beginning to look like Trump's last Christmas. And given half a chance, when invoking the 25th, you know who we're then stuck with. Yes, it's J.D. Vance.
But I'm a few percent of your love. So I believe in you when you said you had love. It's been so many times I can still
it over and over for years.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
We're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that.
His biggest MAGA supporters said no cuts to Medicaid.
It is wrong to cut health care for the working poor.
There's a lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you are dead wrong.
The effect of this bill is to break a promise.
Trump lied.
The Medicaid cuts could cause nearly 12 million people to lose their health insurance.
With this mega bill set to enact the largest cuts to Medicaid in decades, experts are warning that many struggling hospitals in rural communities could close their doors.
But they're not cutting it. They're looking at fraud, waste, and abuse.
He thinks you're stupid and he can fool you. He doesn't care about your health insurance. All he wanted was your vote. Donald Trump. It's just not working.
I think between the couple, girl, but I am a few person of your love. So I believe you when you said you had love.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back. All right, so here's this story from the American Prospect. Democrat voters are clamoring for AI regulation. Their leaders aren't interested. Quote, last month, Democrats in New Jersey, Virginia, and Georgia surged to victory on the back of an affordability message that took aim at soaring energy costs fueled by the proliferation of power-hungry data centers. In New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill pledged to declare a state of emergency and freeze utility rates, while in Georgia, two Democrats won statewide elections by over 20%, with their campaigns fueled by popular resentment of artificial intelligence's soaring energy costs. But not every Democrat is excited about the public's revolt against the AI industry's infrastructure demands. On Tuesday, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries announced the creation of the, quote, House Democratic Commission on AI and the Innovation Economy, unquote, which is supposed to steer the Democratic caucus's thinking on the thorny issues of AI regulation, To lead this, Jeffries selected Representatives Ted Lieu, Democrat from California, Valerie Fauci, Democrat from North Carolina, Josh Gothenheimer, Democrat from New Jersey, Frank Pallone Jr., Democrat from New Jersey, and Zoe Lofgren, Democrat from California. Together, these 5 members are expected to develop policy expertise in AI and forge relationships with the ascendant AI industry, which Jeffries euphemistically terms, quote, the innovation community. But the choice of these specific members speaks more to the true intention of this project. Reconciliation with the Silicon Valley oligarchs who backed Donald Trump in 2024. Unlike the Democratic base, which seems eager for a crackdown on AI data centers and the rising electricity costs associated with them, Jeffries, his hand-picked commission members, have a history of supporting big tech. Lofgren, who represents a portion of Silicon Valley, has been a longtime ally of the technology platforms and among the top recipients of big tech campaign donations. In 2021, Lofgren bucked her own party's efforts to pass regulatory restrictions on big tech at the outset of the Biden administration, speaking candidly about the large campaign donations she received from them. Perhaps the most vocal supporter of business interest on the commission is Josh Gothenheimer. He is among the most aggressively pro-corporate member of Congress from either party and has co-sponsored industry-packed legislation that would exempt financial services companies from regulations, including civil rights laws and consumer protection laws, in the pursuit of AI innovation. By appointing these 5 members to the commission, Jeffries is signaling to the AI industry that he is open to their demands, but this has done little to dislodge the hold the Trump administration has over the industry. AI giants like Google, Meta, and Microsoft have poured money into Trump's privately funded White House ballroom project. The Republican Party is fundamentally opposed to restraining corporate power, using regulation only as a threat to extort firms for bribes. The AI industry knows this. As Democrats try to regain power in Washington, any competing offer from Jeffries cannot match Trump's shamelessness. Attempts to do so will only further tilt policy toward the untethered demands of AI oligarchs, unquote. Which is what I was saying when I was talking about how Bernie Sanders was having a problem with AI things. It's that right now is not the time to have this fight because you got too many people in the government who are not interested in that. You have to remove this regime out of the White House and put in a more progressive regime or administration back in there with a president that'll listen. You're not going to get nothing done headway, with this, even on a state level, probably. I mean, it's just, I just feel like, this is a fight that has to come after we get rid of the cancer that's tearing this country apart. Because as long as it's tearing it apart, you can't really fix anything, AI or anything else for that matter. Okay, and I just don't see that as that doing this now is really going to benefit anybody. What we ought to be doing is just taking data from what's happening with AI, what it's doing to the society, how it's ruining people's jobs and stuff like that. We need to just collect all this data at this point in time, so we will have that to give when we get rid of this regime and put in an administration that will care enough to listen. And then we'll have something to fight over to get, to undo or at least stop or slow down, okay? But right now, don't forget it. You're not going to win this fight now, okay? No one's listening. Even people in the Democrat Party, they're not listening. Nobody cares, all right? Because everybody right now is too focused on what Trump's doing, his illegal things that he's doing, okay? The crimes he's trying to cover up. There's too much there going on to keep us, thinking about AI. Okay, I'm sorry, but when the house is burning, it's not the time to be thinking about what you're gonna have for lunch. Okay, it's just not that important in my eyes. Yeah, it's sad that some people have lost their jobs over AI, but this is not new to America. This has been something that's always happened with innovation as the decades have come and gone. All right, it's not a new thing. And largely what happens is people, they bitch for a while and then they just have to learn to adapt, because no company's ever going to go back to the way it was before. That's just going to be the reality. So if you've been replaced by AI, you're not getting that job back. I don't care how you fight. It's just not going to be a job for you. You're going to have to find something else. If you were working in a factory and you got replaced by a robot, forget it. You're not getting that job back. That's it. It's gone. You're just going to have to find some other kind of work. Because corporations, once they get their grasp on something that they don't have to pay a wage for, or they don't have to give medical benefits to, they're going to run for that. That's going to be their thing. That's what's going to drive them to make their, what they claim, more efficient companies. So that way their stockholders can get all the wealthier. That's the way capitalism, and tonight someone really got me thinking about capitalism in this country and how, if you follow the way things have been progressing the last 50 years in this country, when you think about capitalism, there's only one really damnable destination that's going to bring this country to, and that's nobody's going to have any work. Everybody's going to be unemployed. Everybody except for the wealthy. They'll have all the money. They don't have to work. So you'll have the wealthy who have all the money, right? They don't have to work. And the people who have no money, and they have to live like the first colonists that ever came to this land to start. They have to grow their own food. They're going to have to do everything. They're not even going to be able to buy technology because they won't have the money to buy it. These people will barter with each other amongst themselves. So you're going to have the haves and the have-nots. Okay? And when it comes to that, there is no capitalism anymore, right? The whole thing of capitalism will just come to its end. And that's because we lifted so many regulations over the years about capitalism and how it should work to be fair. They didn't want fair. They didn't want, monopolies. They wanted monopolies around. They didn't want. We originally didn't want that, but they got it. Okay, and that's what this is all about. It's about concentration of wealth to the very few. That's why we have companies buying each other out. All right, that's part of the game. But that's not capitalism. Okay, that's not capitalism. That's not the way capitalism on paper is supposed to work. It has to be fair. It has to be fair, and it has to be inclusive, which means everybody has to partake in it. Capitalism, the proper way, means you have workers and you have companies, and the workers have to work in the companies. So that way the workers have money that they turn around and spend back, to reinvest into the companies, and the companies in turn will continue to pay them for their work, their labor. That's what the capitalism system is supposed to be. But it's dying, isn't it? It's dying. And that's because the greediness of the people at the top has only grown. Okay, why that is, I don't know. You would think a person would reach their limit on how much money they really need. Okay, but it seems like the more money you give somebody, the more they want to buy, the more they want to spend, the more they want to interfere with government, the more they want to do this and that. They want to be a powerhouse of more than just the wealth. They want to be able to control people's destinies. That's not what I call an admirable goal in life, to control a person's success or failure, okay, by either hiring them or firing them. But that's the way it is. I mean, what else would they want to do but at being at the top? And so I feel like, all the wrong people have all the money in this country. Trump being the perfect example of that. Okay, you give somebody like me a ton of money like that, and I guarantee you I would be handing it out to as many people as I could be handing it out to that need the money more than I. Okay, that's the thing. That's the way it should be. Okay? Share the fucking wealth. Do you realize if these corporations out there started to spread the wealth around, how much better this country overnight would be booming? The stock market wouldn't be able to contain it. Okay? People would be buying all over the place. You know, this country would be rocketing, you know, and the federal dollars would be pouring in, the taxes and all that shit. Christ. But as it is, you know, the federal dollars are drying up because the rich don't want to pay them. And the wealthy, and the poor rather, can't afford to. So what do you think is going to happen to the government that doesn't get money for what it does? It dies. It dies a slow death. And everything you ever thought about the government just will go bye-bye. You know, that's really the end result of an unfunded government, because people don't work for peanuts. They don't work for dirt. Okay, everybody that has a job in the government, they want paychecks so they can do their job, right? They got bills to pay just like everybody else. But too many people have got this idea in their head that federal workers are useless, that they're overpaid and all that. Really? How much money do you think you have to earn annually to have a comfortable lifestyle in this country? It's probably a lot more than what you're getting right now. I can almost guarantee it. Because anyone watching this is not going to be one of the elite. I'll tell you right now, the elite don't give a fuck about what somebody like me or others in my economic ladder care about. Okay, they don't give a shit about us. So I'm guessing that most of you out there that watch this, you're not making, you know, a whole lot. Okay, and you can barely afford a vacation for some of you. You're probably dipping into your 401ks and stuff like that because of the way the economy is. So how much money do you think it takes, okay, just for you? Not let's leave out the family situation, the kids and the wife and all. Just for yourself, how much money do you think you need a year to live comfortably? Okay, ask yourself that. And how many jobs in this country will pay you that kind of money? Okay. There's a girl that wants to be a lawyer. Works at Texas Roadhouse over here, okay? She's got her bachelor's degree to be, what do they call it? I can't remember what she said. Paralegal, yeah, paralegal or something like that. She can do that. And, you know, she was talking about what she has to do as a paralegal or something, like, you know, when she's got her application out to different, like Joe Bornstein. Okay, she's got her name or her application at different firms around here. And I put it to her and I said, listen, what do you think is going to happen one day when they figure out how AI could do your job? And she says, well, I can tell you this. She goes, AI is going to be doing everybody's job at one point. And I was like, you know, that she's right. Okay, because what limits can AI have that we can't replace it with? You know, are we ever going to need lawyers again? Okay, think about that. I mean, how far do we want to take that? But you know, that the thing is that there's change, you know, in the works that's coming. Okay. But we don't have the right administration or the right whatever in power right now to actually sit down and seriously look at what we can do here. Okay? And as the issue of how people are going to be able to live years from now, it's going to be very skimpy. You know what I'm saying? I don't see like that many stores still being around that are around today. You know, 20, 30 years from now. Okay. Walmart may be the only store that you can buy anything from in the days to come. You know, because they buy out everybody else. Now think about that. A lot of people today refuse to go shop at Walmart. But just think about that, because, you know, this is the way capitalism here is shaping up, you know, and with this AI thing, making it easier for corporations to continually separate us from our money. Jesus Christ. You know, and why would Trump care? Why would anybody in the political structure care right now? Christ, a lot of them are on the take. They can't run a campaign without some big backer, you know, behind the curtains. Even the Democrats. They're afraid to be outspent on the campaign trail, so they're just as much on the take as the damn Republicans. So, you know, like I said, you know, capitalism as it is dying, if it isn't already dead. Okay? We're not living in a true capitalist society here. It's oligarchy at its worst. And it's only going to get worse after that. You know? Because while the rich have all the money, they're also spending on exploring ways to get rid of more workers. So they don't have to pay them. Give them benefits and all that other stuff. Okay? The fewer the better. That's more profit for those at the, you know, the stockholders or whatever you want to call them on the outside. Okay? So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. So I'll talk to you at another time about some other things, and you know, keep your ears open to any health issues. Subscribe and comment and share. And you know, the Christmas season is upon us, so let's try and be you know, kind to each other. Despite some of the things that's happening, it's difficult, I know, but it matters to the children. You don't want the children to feel like this time in their life it's been terrible and miserable, but to bring some joy to the children in the world here as we're going through the adult problems that we have. We should make sure that these kids have good experiences of their childhood that they can always rely on. It's a place for support, you know, when days to come, that they can remember fondly things that happen when, you know, they were with the family. That's how you set, you know, their minds on, you know, right and wrong and ethics and how to manage themselves when they have kids. So I think that's important. So let's try and do that. And I'll talk to everybody later. So take care.